Welcome to another exciting episode of Humanity 8.0, a podcast where we talk about movements and initiatives that seek to move humanity to its next epochal iteration. This podcast is brought to you by Witlingo. When it comes to managing a community, one of the keys to success is the ability to effectively communicate with the members of that community. If you are a service coordinator or responsible for community engagement, Witlingo provides a multi-channel, multilingual notification and engagement platform to help you work more efficiently and effectively. For more information, please visit www.witlingo.com. That's www.witlingo.com. And now, here's your host, Dr. Ahmed Bouzid.
Joe Oddo, welcome to Humanity 8.0.
Hey, yeah, Joe Oddo here. I'm on the ballot here in South Carolina, and you're doing great things up there in Virginia.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I really respect people who get up in the morning and do things, and they are always on a mission. And you are a man on a mission at multiple levels, and we'll talk about that. But like you said, so you are running for Congress in South Carolina. Is it the 6th district? It's the 6th district,
Yeah,
right?
6th district. We have a 32-year incumbent, man. He's been there
What?
so long. I was still working in Fairfax at the Ted Britt Ford dealer, I think.
Let me guess. Is that? Oh no, it must be a Republican, right?
No, he's a
Democrat.
Democrat. The only Democrat in the whole state, because
There
they
you go.
gerrymandered the rest. They said, all right, we're going to cut these up, make them safe for us, and we'll make this one safe for him.
Well,
So
just to appease. Okay, and so he's been. Does he do any primaries, that guy, or he's just that's it?
Well, I think they may every once in a while throw somebody at the primary. But the interesting thing is 5 of us on the ballot. And because it's a little bit, one unique thing about our state, different than yours, is that once the third parties, fourth parties, fifth parties get a ballot line, they don't lose it. Every year in Virginia, you had to go out and get signatures again. And unless you earn 5% of the statewide vote, then you got to keep that ballot line. But that's really hard to do in Virginia. So here we have a little easier time of getting third parties people on the ballot. So I took the Alliance Party route, so I'm on the ballot with little effort. But it's good to stand for office even if you can't run. And there is a distinction. I mean, basically, you either stand there and be on the ballot. At least the media will ask you, why are you doing this? What's on your mind? What's your issues? But running is a lot different, where you're going to have to be out there every day knocking on doors. I mean, I do my share of forums and door knocking and stuff, but can't, without raising the money that the big 2 fundraising operations in the world have, the biggest 2 in the world, the R or D, they act like there's a difference between them. Very little ideological difference between the 2. So that's why I do it from outside of those 2.
Yeah. And so your party, what's the name of it again?
The Alliance Party.
The Alliance,
yeah. We also have a couple other affiliations in other states we're trying to grow, and Minnesota is our most prominent. There's
Really?
some elements in New Jersey and Colorado and a couple others, but
Anybody in Virginia?
not yet. But Virginia's, again, that's every year. I mean, if you don't, we're the closest in Virginia. I actually co-founded the Independent Greens of Virginia back in 2003. So that was our third independent party there for the 20 years I was involved. Then I moved here, but they every once in a while someone will come forward and run. We had Terry Modulin on the ballot there in Arlington a couple of years ago. We and Audrey Clement, she keeps running as a green there in Arlington. So you got some interesting independents that have arisen, and you also have the ranked choice voting for the first time in Arlington, right? Or maybe the second time, and that's going to be very interesting. The local race, they're not going to let the
not the state.
the congressional
No,
race.
Arlington tries to be innovative here and there to the extent that they can. But I just want to understand what you said. So if once you have how tell me the difference again. So now you don't have to go around and chase the 1,000 votes that you
Well,
need.
that's the difference. Every state, there's 50 different regulations, and every state's different. This state here, once you establish yourself as a party, went out and got the 10,000 signatures and said, yes, these people that signed this petition said they wanted us to form a party. So once you form the party, you're in. You don't lose that status. In
And so,
Virginia,
yeah, go ahead.
you have to do it every year. You have to go get those signatures to get on the ballot, and then you have to get 5% of the statewide vote to keep that ballot line. And if you don't get it, then you have to go get signatures again the following year. So that's
So
how that works.
if let's say, okay, so if I form a party, right, and I get 5% plus in Virginia, then I can stay as a party.
Yes, the
Okay.
main requirements at that point was because they have 11 congressional districts, you have to have a chairperson for each district, and you have to have 2 or 3 meetings a year certified. That so once you send in that you do that, here's who your chair people are, here's the actual meetings you held. So that's your status to remain a party. So once you do that, then they let you continue on and use the acronym next to your name. Like we were IG, Independent Green, so we were able to put IG next to our name when we petitioned. But
I see, I see. And so, an independent candidate, for example, can the candidate list themselves on the ballots, you know, David Kennedy, TRN?
independent, yeah.
Can they add 3
Um,
letters after that?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because
Okay.
he's not affiliated with the party that turned in the required, meetings and officers and all that. That's, unless you're a statewide party, you're just an I,
Yeah,
an
yeah.
independent.
I wonder if there is a loophole, like for example, when somebody asks for your name, at least I don't know, they ask for your suffix. Brainstorm.
Well, if depends. I mean, you can tell them how you want your name to be on the ballot.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, if you want to add a junior or a
yeah.
third or a doctor or I don't
Or
know.
a,
I mean, there
or a
may be some
TRM.
restrictions. And you
Yeah,
know
that
what
must be a
else they
restriction.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what else they do? They make sure that the other two parties are always first on the ballot. So they will
They do.
draw names out of a hat for any independents, but the other two get to go first always.
And why is that?
Because they make the rules. That's why.
And who makes the rules?
They do. That's the two parties that run
No,
the
I'm
state
saying,
office.
there is an elections
The
office.
legislature.
The legislator makes the rules.
Right.
That sounds like, anyway, I don't want to spend a lot of time about that.
In this state, they randomly pulled them, and then what they'll do is they'll flip them. Like whoever was first last time drops down one,
They try.
etc. So they keep rotating.
So you could be at the top. You could.
Yeah, I could be.
At the
That
top.
give me
Okay.
some free votes right there because it has been shown that people will just pick a name they see and
Yeah.
the positions is
Yeah.
is
They don't
is
care.
important sometimes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they went into to vote for the president, and the rest is just gravy.
Right. Exactly.
And so the least.
And it's a shame that people only show up every 4 years, man. When the local races are so much more important to their tax dollars, they get more money extracted out of their wallet from the locals than they do the national.
No, I mean, which speaks to like this, for me, right? Fact that people are not engaged to the extent that they should, and at the same time they're engaged in other stuff that requires a lot of brain power, a lot of energy, like sports, right? Sports,
Yeah,
media,
exactly.
and then
Distraction.
distractions. The point being that they have the actual brain to get involved in the minutia. It's not like they are like dumb. They can't. They have it. They can. They get passionate and they talk
Yeah, they have
football.
time to what do they call when they watch episodes like power watching them or something. What do they call that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't watch TV, so I don't know. But the fact, here's the thing, John Connolly said it like this: you should spend at least 10% of your time in politics because you can be assured that the politicians are spending 100% of their time in your business.
Yes. It's true. right?
And so
Opposite
even
is
if you just spend 5% of your free time in civics of some kind, get involved with our website used to be vote, join, run.us. So we try to get people to vote, of course, come out of the woodwork and not just do it every 4 years, but join an organization, join a campaign, get involved actively in your community of some kind, any kind, even if it's picking up trash on the side of the road
right.
or visiting people at the senior center, stuff like that. Good, noble stuff, right? And then the third, of course, was run. We always were recruiting, trying to get people to run or stand for public office. And because right now 50% of the seats are unchallenged, man. And who does that favor? I mean, that's almost like a plan out of Putin's playbook, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's like de facto almost, I would say, an
Yeah, you're
establishment.
giving the corporatists
Yeah,
reign, and they don't have to do anything. I mean, they don't have to pay attention to what the people want. I mean, it's
yeah, no,
pathetic.
exactly. And I think that's the way they want it. All right. And I
Yep.
always it was a wake up call for me during COVID. Well, there were many wake up calls during COVID. For me, the wake up
Oh
call
yeah.
was that all of a sudden these people are no longer completely consumed by work, and they're able to sit down at home and think. They don't just think like, we do a lot of thinking and taking a step back during the weekend, right? Because the grind and the rat race, we can at least sit down and breathe and think. Now imagine being able to think day in and day out. All of a sudden people start saying, wait a minute, why do I have to commute, and why do I have to go to a cubicle, and what's going on here with
Exactly.
pay? Right? And how come my healthcare is tied to my work? And they start asking dangerous questions, so to speak.
And I
Dangerous.
could work. You mean I could work in the suburbs or somewhere out in the rural area without having to be? I mean, as long as I'm tied to the internet, I can work from there. Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
in.
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
nature. I got scenery.
I feel better. I feel good. I'm more productive. I have fewer distractions and so on.
Cleaner air.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, and then it was, and then the what do you call it, the demonstrations for George Floyd and all that, and the level of it was because people were thinking and they were reacting and they were taking that step of getting engaged, getting involved, right? And so, and then so the revealing thing is the following: what did the government do at that point in time? They said, we cannot have these people like continue thinking and rebelling.
Yeah, thinking is dangerous.
We need to send them checks. We need to tell them to go ahead and buy some
Go
stuff.
spend the money.
Go
Yeah,
spend the
yeah.
money. Don't worry about your rent. They're freaked out. I mean, how were they able to come up with $1 trillion when all this time they've been telling us, well, we can't do this, we can't do that because we don't have. All of a sudden,
Well, they didn't come up with it. They just
they
borrowed it. They
printed it.
just printed the money, and,
They
and it
printed
was
the
all
money.
artificial. It's all
What?
artificial.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that they found a way to give people money. Okay. Well, how come
Right.
they don't do that, on a regular basis when there's a budget that is plenty? There's plenty of money, right? But they found there was a will because they got scared. They got really scared. That's my theory anyway. And that was one of the wake up calls is that, you know what, if more people were thinking, the government would be a lot more responsive than it is, right? Okay, so let's talk
Oh,
about.
binge watching. That was the word I was looking for. That's what people do. That's what they did when COVID hit. Oh, I could catch up on all my shows.
Yeah, yeah, and not only do they binge watch, and they go on the internet and they get involved in Reddit, all these forums to talk about the minutia of the thing,
Right.
right? And so that's where their brain power is.
Well, now it's
Boom.
TikTok, right?
Now it's TikTok, yeah. But the thing about TikTok is that TikTok has done the thing of enabling people to not only entertain themselves but to get informed, right? To get informed
Yeah,
about
but haven't
topics.
they clamped down on that now that the government went after TikTok? I think you're seeing a lot less political activity. People are like they're filtering out the stuff against Israel and stuff.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
So that's just a matter of time before all the
Yeah,
filtering comes.
as soon as something becomes a source of information that they cannot control, and
Right.
they need the things to be
Then they have to
filtered.
go after them. Yeah.
They go after them to try to eliminate. They're going after the social media platforms. They're trying to clamp down on misinformation. You know what misinformation means, Joe? Misinformation means information that does not conform.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the
Almost conform.
narrative.
with their narrative. That's it. That's
Right.
misinformation. Anything
Exactly.
that, and so they need everything channeled through the mainstream media, who are very careful but not stepping
Oh
beyond
yeah. I mean, that's why
boundaries.
people like Raytheon will advertise for Good Morning America. That makes no sense, right? Why would a weapons maker do that? But here the reason is that they want to keep Americans enthusiastic about war, right? Making sure that none of the commentators on there are saying anything bad about it because, oh my God, we're going to lose our revenue source, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, exactly. PBS, for example, they have all these nice shows, in the Sunday morning,
Yeah,
and also,
right.
all the, and then I wondered for the longest time, and I couldn't figure out. Finally, I figured out, I don't know, a few years ago. It's like, why Alcoa? Why there? I mean, what, somebody's gonna buy Alcoa products?
Right.
And
Not the
it has
people
to
that
do
watch
with
that program, right?
it has to do with those folks being in, put them in check, millions of dollars coming in, talk about whatever you want to talk. You can even maybe tickle here and there so that you can look like there you are, but don't cross the board, no, the boundaries. So, it's an interesting communication, right? And when who hears what, when, like, is everything. Everything else becomes either hard or easy. If you have people who are informed, that's why you have these demonstrations in campuses, right? Because these folks were able to see firsthand that what their administration is saying is the total opposite of what they're doing, and so they rebelled.
Right.
Now the clampdown, no more free speech on campus, no more speech in campus. Okay, let's talk about your alliance, because I got really excited about. It was like a few days ago, like, and I acted fast because you're doing something that I think is very important, which is trying to, like, break this so-called gridlock, right? By forming an alliance of independent, which I'm always very happy to bump into people who think strategically, who think that things don't happen just like that. They happen over time, with coordination, with intelligence, with patience, and with building. So for me, when I saw that, I was like, damn, how come I didn't know about this guy before? And I didn't hear about this alliance before. And I'm very happy that I bumped into you. And so that's why we're talking. But let's talk about what is, when you say gridlock, we heard this word many, many times. What does that mean to you? In what way is this gridlock manifested specifically?
Well, in the race I'm running in Congress, we have somebody who's been there so long that they have blinders on. So all they're seeing is the people that are paying them the money, right? So they don't have to look at the issues that the people need. And like, for instance, they had a good bill that would have gotten rid of gerrymandering and gotten maybe even addressed term limits. I'm not sure, but also would have probably uh, been made voting easier, like maybe an election day holiday or maybe even same day voter registration, stuff like that. They couldn't get that passed. Why? The gridlock, because the two the two parties are really engaged, colluding in keeping the status quo. They don't want to change anything. It's working for them, right? It's working for them so that if anyone bucks their party, they get primaried, right? So
Yeah,
the gridlock is right there, right? Anybody that wants to kick the party and say, "Wait a minute, I don't like the way you're doing that." Oh, okay, well, we'll get rid of you then. I mean, so that's the gridlock, and the fact that they can't even pass a budget. They have to have continuing resolutions every few months to keep the government from shutting down. So that's a pretty dismal statement of the values of our country. If we can't even care enough to get the budget passed,
yeah,
none of those folks should be reelected. None of them. If they can't pass a budget, none of them should be qualified to get reelected. Those are the rules that those of us from outside would like to enforce, and they're terrified of that because, oh my God, I lose my seat, my status. I
yeah,
mean, they're career politicians is all they are, and they will toe the line. It's so funny to hear, like we did this. There were 60 out of 68 candidates here in South Carolina that answered the surveys, right? And the survey questions were all the same, but the 8 that did not answer, 7 of them are incumbents. So they don't care. They like the status quo and not getting anything done. And then if you start looking at the uniparties answers, they show that ideological split, but every R and every D had the same answers,
Amazing.
right? R had, this answer for, calling people illegal aliens. What? How can people be illegal, first of all? And then the other one would have, the biggest threat to democracy is if we reelect this ex-president. Well, what kind of threat to democracy is the other party that you guys that are clamping down on censorship? So
It's a mess. It's a
and
mess.
it's just a repeat, and so they put it all in the hopper, they spin it, and they keep spitting out the same thing, man. And that's the gridlock right there. That's the concept as I envision it.
Yeah. And why is that gridlock bad? I'm asking you very basic questions because
Well,
usually,
bad because we couldn't get that bill passed that would have got rid of gerrymandering. That's one thing. Bad because the balancing of the budget would be important for us to figure out how to reduce the deficit. If we just keep putting band-aids on it, it's going to keep mushrooming. And right now we're over 100% of GDP as far as how much debt we have
yeah, I
that we're
had like a
carrying.
few years
And
ago,
it's
yeah, when people were saying that, when we were like, I don't know, we were at 70% just a few years ago, and people were
yeah,
saying 100%. I said, come on, the United States is not going to get, and we are there. You're right. I mean, it's nuts.
right.
Um, okay. Well, let me
So
go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so they also don't address the basic fundamentals of budgeting, right? Which means you get rid of waste, fraud, abuse, and improper payments. And then you analyze each department and say, well, you guys have served your mission. Why are you still in business? So there's some redundancies going on that in any federal bureaucracy. We should be looking really hard at the numbers and figure out, okay, look, you folks aren't granted a job for life here. Let's make sure we're getting stuff done. And these simple things would save the country a lot of money. Not, I mean, and then of course people like us who come out with a platform that says, look, you close down half the 800 bases we have around the world. We're not in conflict zones. We can bring the troops home. We can bring those billions back home and invest it in infrastructure. And those troops will be happy to be able to work here at home, building infrastructure, be closer to their families. So there's so many spin-offs of why the gridlock is hurting us, right there.
Yeah. No, it's well, let me ask tell me well, let me ask you this, and then I'm gonna ask you another question about the alliance. Um uh let me quote here something, because what does this say? 1 second. About Donald Trump. Okay. So Donald Trump received in 2016, he received 62.98 million votes. Okay. In 2020, he received 74.2 million votes. Okay, these are fellow Americans who decided to vote that way. Now, Don Lemon, who used to be at CNN, and he for me represents, the basic, I mean, it's sort of the prototypical talking head who thinks he knows things, right?
Right.
He was just plucked from whatever he was to do because he has whatever. This is what he said. He said around 2020, quote, if you vote for Trump, you voted for the person who the Klan supported. You own it. You
The
own
Klan?
the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, right.
You own it. You own the blood that happened. So this guy is taking between 60 to 70 plus million people and just
And
calling
that's
them.
how he lost his job at CNN, right?
Yeah, and well, I mean, I don't know how he lost his job, but this is a pretty typical. You listen to Rachel Maddow, you listen to anyone, any of those libs are right. This is what they say. This is how they characterize their fellow Americans who voted for. They are crazy. They're racist. Maybe they are angry, right? But what sort of mystifies me, and I want you to help me, like maybe figure it out, is since 2016, this is 8 years on. They have not asked themselves the question seriously: why are these people voting for Trump, right? And what can we do, right, to win them over? There's no curiosity, no dialogue, no taking them seriously, really, right? And so, and this is 8 years on. Like I can say, okay, the first 2 years they're like And then after a while, they sit down, they have time, they can think, they can talk, they go, they do, and then they come up with a rational plan that says, these people are not nuts, they're not crazy, they're not a different creature, they're like us, they have hurt, they have this kind of hurt. That hurt was caused by this, and that this was just getting rid of all their jobs so that the wealthier can become wealthier still. And so they are outraged. They're completely outraged, right? So why? And so the question to you is, I mean, these people are intelligent, and why do they continue demonizing half of the country, of the voters?
Well, because it works for them. That's why. Because fear always sells, and that both parties use it. You know, one says, "Oh, he's the most dangerous threat to democracy," while the other one says they're dangerous because they're going to start. One's going to start civil war, and one's going to start world war, right? So that's the fear, and it has always been. I mean, I made a speech in '04 when I was running up there in the congressional district 11 about, after 9/11, and we had invaded Iraq, and we went in for other reasons. I'm like, it's fear is selling,
Yeah.
that's 20 years ago, man, and it's still true today. I mean, because what works, they're going to stick to it. That's the playbook, and it's funny how you say, yeah, he owns it. Well, I think both parties own it, to me. The
Yeah.
fact that they won't allow. And why did RFK, for instance, run as an independent supposedly, and then join with the oil party? Why? Because first of all, they did block him at every angle. That one other uniparty blocked him trying to be on the ballot here and there, using up his resources. Okay, that was a legitimate reason, but to join with a force that has no character. I mean, so yeah, we do own if we're gonna reelect that clown show. I mean, oh my gosh, the fact that we do own, this is the belligerence now that we tolerate in our leaders, and that's really a sad statement on our whole outcome. I mean, this guy here who you mentioned, I can't even mention his name, but the ex-president is basically grudge made flesh. He's grievance made president. Anything that bad that happens, he's the victim. It's all
Well,
targeted
I
to
mean,
him,
we all agree that he
and
is, I
that
think,
works well.
a lunatic. We all, I mean, really, I mean, he's not, anyway, but he's, what do you call it? He's
You
clever,
can
and
you
he
can
can
see
manage.
it. Yeah, he's a clever genius in how he managed to
Yeah.
encapsulate all the grievances the people had and make it his, and own that, and give them a reason to be mad, right?
Yeah.
Reason to be angry. He
Yeah.
gives them permission to be angry, basically, and that's not a way to run the country, man.
Yeah, I mean, my point, and I totally agree with everything you said. My point is that somebody who wants to heal the country, right, who is not just there to make money, and all these people in the media, and that's it, they just want to have money, career, and access to power and all that. Somebody who wants to heal
Right.
the country would say, how do we, um, how do we address the root cause of that push these folks to say, I would like to return the outrage that was applied to me. The outrage being, we'll take your job and then you figure it out. We'll take your health care. We'll decimate your family. We'll make your conditions so bad that you're going to get addicted to drugs. We don't give a shit about you, right? And so that's an outrage. And I feel that they said, okay, yeah, okay. So let me give you my outrage. My outrage is this guy here who insults you, who does outrageous things, and so we have this dynamic. So the question is, why aren't people like? And I think there are a lot of people who are trying very hard to understand what's going on and address the issue. The issue, for example, it always goes back to economics. These folks have jobs and they're secure, and they have a future and they have hope. They don't turn to desperation moves like this, in my opinion, right? I don't think they are genetically built. It's purely frustration. Like, for example, right now, I think a lot of Arab Americans will say it is outrageous what the United States is doing in Gaza. It's an outrage. It's a crime
Right.
against humanity. And I'm
Yeah.
so outraged. I'm so outraged at they would say, so outraged at Biden and all those people that I want to return the outrage. I want to punish this country. And the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to vote for this lunatic. I want to give you what you deserve, you war criminal bastard.
Wow, that's an interesting
Right?
perspective. Yeah,
I know,
I
I'm
didn't
telling you,
think about that.
there's so much. So I completely understand when you get to the level of total and absolute anger and disgust. I mean, these people may have lost family because of right jobs that were lost. I mean, it's not a trivial thing to lose your job and have no hope when you are in your 50s and you have people and you're hoping to get your children to college. You can't do it anymore, and then some of your children get into drugs, and you get this is your world is destroyed by the fact that we are doing globalization, right? Oh, how nice it is. But if I were one of those, I would feel the same outrage that I feel right now about Gaza, right? I would feel it. And so I totally understand that they are inside just roiled up and angry, and they want to do something instead of breaking a wall or shooting people, they want to vote for this guy because he matches the level of outrage that has been visited upon them. So at the visceral level, I understand that. And so for me, how would somebody fix my outrage? They would stop doing what they're doing, stop sending arms and all that. So for me, it's anybody who's still. So I hear this they call it shit libs, right? They are just repeating the same points. Putin is a big threat to democracy. Trump is a big threat. It's gonna collapse. Even though when he challenged court after court after court, whether it was a Trump appointee or whatever, said no, the elections are fine. There was no, and then when there was January 6th, okay, so what? You think really that the democracy was at peril? That we are going to, you think that everybody else was gonna just let it go, that he would be there? Didn't you see the demonstrations in the summer, for George Floyd? You think you wouldn't have 10 times of that if he decided to assume office? Are you kidding me? So this notion of scaring people, as you said, right? It's all about let's scare the hell out of them. But anyway, that's where I stand on that. And I think I'm glad,
Good
I'm glad
point
to hear
there.
that you on your end also are not sort of creating these straw man citizens who need to be just cast aside as crazy. They're not. They're human beings, and we should respect them no matter how, and understand why they support this guy. It doesn't matter what he says. It really doesn't matter as long as he's
Well,
out.
that's an interesting theory, man. You're drilling down to a really interesting point because even though his grievances are expanding the culture wars, it's still putting a divide between people. And you're right, people have to still believe in the American dream, and that's diminishing, especially for young people who are
Yeah,
being burdened with the future debt.
huge.
And it's one thing people can tolerate poverty, they can tolerate discrimination, but you're right about the fact that they can't tolerate loss of hope. They got to have hope, man. And
Hope is the
you're
most important
seeing,
thing. Yeah,
and that retribution that the ex-president says I'm going to carry out for you. You're right, man. The voters are thinking the same thing now. Like especially the Arab Americans in Michigan are polling 7% towards the Greens,
yeah,
which means it's put the ex-president back in the lead in
yeah,
Michigan in a swing
yeah,
state, which
yeah,
means the other party doesn't have an answer. The vice president doesn't know what to do there because they
yeah,
can't dare say anything bad about Israel. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. They find themselves in this predicament, and then the question really is mystifying. There is a path to creating something that is, I mean, the question is people say, oh, it's because Israel it doesn't want to do X, Y, and Z. But really, I mean, the United States can and they have exerted pressure before, right? And I know,
exactly. Reagan picked up the phone and had them stop bombing back in
yeah,
the 80s.
Yeah, and in the 80s, in the 90s, like in the early 90s, Bush, he was, he picked up the phone and said, okay, you no more money for your settlements. And then
Right.
like that, right? It stopped,
Exactly.
right? And so this
Now
notion
it's
that,
the other way around, man. When Bibi comes to town, they give him the red carpet. That's pathetic.
that's
They should never
amazing.
let a war criminal in front of our Congress like that,
And
man.
and this guy, I don't understand why he hasn't been indicted yet, right? I mean,
Right.
ICC it took its time just to present the potential warrant, and now we're waiting for this warrant to be issued.
Right.
And then the question is why isn't Karim A. Khan, the guy who's in charge of ICC, why isn't he? Where is he? What is he doing? You know where he is? I'll tell you where he is. He's in Africa, looking for more. If you look at the list of the people who are indicted as war criminals and so on by the court, by the ICC, I'd say 95% are Black Africans.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because of all the coups and
Yeah,
challenges
they
to the
go and because it's
regime.
easy prey and all that. It's just so they go and as Bush is is number one, is a number one war criminal. You know, he never didn't even occur to them to go over him. I mean, they put Putin there. Why? You put Putin there, and you should put Barack Obama first before you put Putin. Given that this guy, Barack Obama, he assassinated American citizens. You know, habeas corpus means nothing to him, right?
Right.
Anyway, so let me ask you about the coalition because I think I want to dig a little deeper in terms of, strategy, banding together, and you want to have enough critical mass to move the needle. Because you're right. I mean, if you the fact that 6 or 7 are in the right wing, like that caucus, what Freedom Caucus, whatever, the Taylor Green and Matt Gaetz, right? They have power in terms of being able to stop legislation, or at least they did once, right, at one point. So a small number can make a difference, and you guys are sort of latching onto that, which I think is very smart. Maybe you can elaborate.
We have aligned with other independents for Congress around the country. We got Ron Tupa from Colorado and a couple others who there's Joyce from Minnesota. So what we agreed to do was we realized that it only takes 6 to 8 to change the fate in Congress. And that means if our fulcrum caucus says we're not going to caucus with either the R's or the D's, but we're going to bring them to the table to make sure they're negotiating, talking to each other, and get a budget passed. Let's have a conference committee and get it done. That is the overarching plan. Obviously, we're going to have to get us elected, even if it takes one, like Dave Kennedy himself over there in Arlington said, yeah, I'll be one. I don't care. but if we just simply refuse to caucus with them, then our pool of votes could be the slim margin, the difference to sway the majority.
I love that.
So that's where it's called a fulcrum caucus. It's not a new idea, but it's been around a while. But of course, that's why they will step on us to make sure we don't get an inch, man. That's why they don't let people in the debates. Down here, our incumbent wouldn't come to our forum. And it's very clever, the idea you guys have where you got the Don bot sitting in, the AI sitting in for your incumbent congressman because he won't show up for the debate either.
No,
I love
that
that.
was, yeah. That's so that's the other independent which he should also approach. I'll approach him on your behalf and say you need to get with Joe.
In the Fulcrum Caucus, yeah.
Yeah, because he also thinks strategically. But yeah, I think what we did was simply said, okay, you don't want to show up, we're going to create an AI who will stand on your behalf. And that created a lot of buzz, mainly because the AI notion is new, right?
Yeah,
But what he's doing, Bentley is doing a good job at making sure that the main topic, which is the fact that the guy wants debate, that he
right,
thinks he owns the seat. He doesn't
right,
he doesn't deign to, go and mingle with the riffraff, the independents, and then be in a debate with them. That's beneath him, right?
right, of
So
course.
and this is the same person who, because he's a Democrat, he's crying up a river, that democracy is about to die. Really? Okay. And so you don't even want to participate in.
Yeah, they on one hand they act like they care because he actually did back one of our ranked choice voting, I think. But on the other side, they really don't care, right? I mean, their actions prove louder than their words.
And what they back usually, I've noticed this. I've sort of went through all the things he's backed that are, hey, this is nice. All of those things are unlikely to pass. So it's sort of just playing around.
Yeah, he's safe.
He's safe. Yeah. Like, like for example, here's the irony. He sort of worked hard to pass legislation that he knew was not going to pass, that would enable participation in Virginia to or make it easier for folks to participate in, in races. Okay. So he did all that in the name of democracy, but there was zero chance in hell that it would pass. So he got the credit for it, right? But he knew he was not going to get the consequence, which is actually, have races be competitive. So they do a lot of that. They go after stuff that they know is not going to happen, but it looks good on paper, right?
Right, right.
So they've refined the art of, obfuscation and looking good without doing good. Um, and so I just want to understand, let's say, well, let me ask you first, do you know how many independents today are in Congress? Is it 10, 20? What do you,
No, there's hardly any. I don't think there's any.
there's nothing, nobody's independent?
There may be like a couple senators, like Bernie Sanders and Angus from Maine, and maybe Manchin and Sinema. You might consider independents and say, but they're both leaving Congress. So there's nobody in the House that
So
are
getting,
independent, because who would they caucus with? I mean, you wouldn't even be able to function. So it's either R or D or not nowhere. I mean,
well, and when you say you wouldn't even be able to function, what does that mean? Like, you can represent your people, you can vote, you can, have your mind, you can decide, okay,
because they wouldn't allow you on a committee. I mean, if you're not part of the R or the D, you wouldn't even have a committee to work on. So, but yeah, you could cast a vote, but it's sort of like it'd be almost like the DC congressperson who doesn't have a vote in Congress. You can be there, you can watch and make a speech here and there, but you can't vote. So right now, that's another piece of our national election reform platform that we advocate. It has 10 points, and one of them is to give the citizens of DC a right to a vote in Congress. Man,
okay,
that's
okay.
true lack of representation right there, man.
True and absolute lack of representation. Well, not absolute, because there is a little bit, but it's almost absolute.
At
Not
least
effective.
one vote in the House, at least. I mean,
At
even if you
least,
don't give
yeah.
them
These
two
are people.
senators, you make them a state.
Yeah, yeah. And so, if and you are taking this seriously, obviously. So if you were to work out a strategy, right? It has to, and tell me if I'm not being sort of realistic. Doesn't this shouldn't have as a first goal to elect at least one person who is an independent in there, so you can say,
Yeah,
yes, so,
yeah,
yeah,
always. And each of us 60 independents around the country who are running all are trying to get elected. But if we don't raise the $1 million, like Dave Kennedy put it this way: unless we catch lightning in a bottle, our chances are slim that we're going to get elected. Now, I always like to use it like this: we still win. We are all winners because we are in the mix, we are on the ballot, and we're trying. That's a win, right? We may not get elected. So rather than take the way that the big parties frame it, oh, you lost. Well, okay, but your big party person lost too. So, there's only winner take all. That's why we challenge that system in general. If we can have instant ranked choice voting, instant runoffs, we wouldn't need to have a winner take all. We would make sure that you realize right now that if there's 8 people on the ballot, and people could cast their votes and somebody could win with 18%. That
yeah,
means that 80% voted against them. And so 80% wanted somebody else.
yeah,
And yet that person has the right, based on this way this formula is set up now,
mhm,
to govern the
yeah.
80% that didn't want them.
No, that's
So
true.
it's
That's
just
true. And
such a broken system, and that's
yeah,
what people have to see. We're not going to fix things using the current status quo that's in there. That people have to look beyond and say, rather than vote defensively, hold my nose and vote for the lesser of two evils, I'm going to make a long-term strategic vote for a non R or D. The only wasted vote right now is one for R or D.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and that's a long-term strategy. They could pick a green, they could pick a libertarian, they could pick a Constitution Party, anything but one of the other two. This is the time right now where we have to go on strike against those two parties. Right now, And because every 4 years they're going to come around, oh, this is the most important election ever. Oh, we're going to lose democracy. They say that every 4 years, man.
True.
Same thing back in '04 when Bush and Cheney got us into Iraq. Oh, you see what's happening now? It's taking over the world. You know, it's dangerous. Okay, they ask us to stand down every year. Well, we can't. No
Yeah.
more. And the independents, nobody should roll over and just give them your vote anymore. That's the whole biggest point that us independents are making. So even you're right, it's going to take at least one of us to get elected so we can be a one-person caucus. But 6 to 8 would definitely change the fate.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean that's great. And so are you like, so it's all about, like you said, it's all about, the exposure, right? Name recognition, the money, it comes about to the money. And so the reason I'm asking is if you have 60 who are running around the country, and you have a pool, let's say they were able to raise X number of dollars. Instead of 60, if you had 10, and then you had really power money behind them. So you pulled your resources and you said, I'm just going to focus on these 10. I just want to get in this cycle one. And in the next cycle, I'm getting another one, right? So that'll be one question is that kind of thinking being done in terms of being really, really strategic? And it's very hard to coordinate. Everybody wants to run
It,
it that way, right?
it's a beautiful idea. And the closest we came, I can tell you this, there's some really hard feelings about the fact that we allowed Kennedy in on our independent side of things, and then he sold out on us. So that we have a very bad taste in our mouth about. But the fact is, we kind of saw it coming because he was an establishment hack. So anytime, like, you get groups like No Labels, you get groups like Andrew Yang's Forward Party, you get some outside
Yeah,
influences like Good Party, and so there is some
yeah,
some money floating around out there that's starting to look at alternatives. There's a good United Independent Cause that meets every year. So there's a hope right there. There's 4 good organizations that are pooling resources and starting to see outside of those the two,
yeah.
right? So, but Kennedy set us back, man. The fact that we
Well,
let him in as an independent, and now no one knows what the heck an independent is anymore, right?
well, I
And
mean,
No
let's not.
Labels kind of let us down too by only going after establishment people for their selection. It's almost like they said they made this promise. They said if it's a contest between the con man and the corpse, we're gonna run somebody. But if it's not, we're not gonna run anybody. So it's almost like they knew that
Yeah,
the corpse was going to be replaced by the vice president.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, yeah. I think they saw it coming. I think I was part of the. I think it was something where they thought it was 50-50, even in early 2021. You know, I
could
think
be.
they had a sense. I think they did. Um,
But
uh,
they did help us by highlighting how hard it is to get on the ballot, what a challenge it is for any independent to try to challenge the system because they will go after you in court. They got armies of litigators and lawyers to come after you and challenge your right to appear on the ballot. And they're doing it for Jill Stein. They threw her off the ballot in several states. She lost the Supreme Court challenge in Nevada, so the Greens won't be on the ballot in
what was
Nevada.
the?
Kennedy was getting knocked off in 4
Yeah,
or 5 states,
yeah.
so that's why he rolled over and now has retribution targeted towards
Oh,
that
yeah,
Democrat Party that
yeah,
was targeting him.
yeah.
So, and it's just sad that that's the world we live in. And if you want to be the person that carries forth retribution, then what do? You join that
Yeah.
ex-president party.
No, I think he was just pumped with anger, not unjustifiable, to be honest with you. But that just
Right.
confirms the theory that anybody who has a huge grudge right now and feels that,
Yeah.
and I guarantee a lot of Arab Americans are gonna vote. Well, many Arab Americans are Republicans, by the way, business people, right? Uh,
Right. Exactly.
and so, but I mean,
The,
I know one guy, business guy, who told me that he cried only twice in his life. One in 2016, when his mom died, and the second one when Trump won. Okay, so that guy now
wow.
has completely flipped totally because he's totally out, not because he likes the guy. I mean, he didn't change his values or anything like that, but he's now completely blind, and he thinks that what was done is just way beyond outrageous, and he wants he wants retribution. He wants to throw crap at them, or worse than crap, and embodied in this is in this monster. What's his name? Trump, right?
Well,
So
that helps explain things. That's
yeah, you'll see. I think there may be surprises there, and they came out and they said that they will be voting for Jill Stein, right? I think they renamed themselves the, what is it called? The Sunshine Movement. Before it was the Uncommitted Movement. They just renamed,
oh right.
and then they said they are supporting Jill Stein, and that, like you said, it could move the needle. And then who do they have to blame if they lose Michigan? And
Well, they will blame Jill, but when they really need to blame themselves, they will never blame themselves. Even back in 2000, when they blame Ralph Nader for
yeah,
Gore losing, that was such bogus too, because what, 200,000 Democrats in Florida voted for W. So how do you blame the
yeah.
5,000 that voted for Ralph? You know, that's
Yeah,
just
and then the whole
pathetic.
campaign, the fact that they said, okay, we don't want Bill Clinton to show up, who was a powerful voice, for the party, right? They just, Al Gore just, and then he's completely uncharismatic and all that stuff played
Yeah,
into
the cardboard Al Gore.
he should have won in a landslide, and yet he lost.
Well, and I think this was a winnable race for the vice president too, but they're giving it away, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally lost if the Biden stayed. I guarantee you that.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely. They knew that.
so that
Writing was
was,
on the wall for that one.
and it was desperation move.
In fact, you know what really would have made it interesting? And I'm surprised that this party unfortunately got taken over by the Donald, but if the other party, the oil party, was smart enough, they would have replaced him after his conviction and said, that's it. We've had enough of him. Let's move on. Because they're gonna have to move on from it eventually. There'll still be the oozing of the Trumpism and the hate and the fear and the let's diminish people, let's build up discrimination, let's make sure that there's boogeymen like immigrants,
Yeah.
so that will continue. But that party would have done themselves a big favor had they replaced him as the nominee. And then now you'd have a real dynamic race going on right now.
Well, the thing is, the irony is the following. The irony is that the Republican Party, with this monster in there, behaved, respected democracy more than the Democratic Party. Meaning they had actually there were candidates, there were debates, and the guy didn't show up, and there were primaries and people voted, and those people wanted this guy. And so I would not call for that party to do what you were saying.
Well, yeah, but he didn't show up to the debates either.
No, he
So
didn't show up to the debates, and yet he still won. Meaning people went and they voted for him in the primaries.
yeah,
And
but look
therefore,
how few. The
yeah,
primary
but
system is one of the main things we need to fix because
I understand. I
look,
totally
only 8% of the people decide who gets the nomination for the entire country. That's pathetic
yeah,
right
I'm
there,
not
man.
saying that it was democratic. I'm saying it was
You're
more
right.
democratic.
They went through the process. You're
They
right.
went through it.
That
Was
the other
more.
one did.
It was not as stupidly and blindly. And these are Democrats, right? They had done it.
Right.
They did it in 2016. They just rigged it, and they rigged it
Yeah, they rigged it against
in 2020,
Bernie.
and they rigged it
Yeah.
in 2024. That's what they did. Every single. This is called Democratic Party. They have democracy.
Well, they've been doing that to us. I remember being outside that giant right there in Arlington there. And we're collecting signatures to get our green on the ballot, and the Democrats would stop and say, "Oh, you don't want to sign that." They'll block us. So they've been anti-democratic for a long time, and they pass it down from the top where they tell their people, "Don't you ever sign an independence petition." The people will tell me, "I can't sign that. I'm a Democrat." I'm like, "What? How's that even democratic?" All you're allowing us to do is participate. That's all. Yeah. You can decide in November whether we're worthy of your vote.
Right. Well, wow, the hour is going very fast. It means I'm having a lot of fun here. Can I get another 10 minutes from you?
Well, I certainly go.
I'm enjoying this too much.
Let me make sure I get a plug for my podcast, which is Wednesdays at 9:30.
Please.
Live. And you can go to my website, bettercandidates.org, for more info on that. So thanks for that plug, sir. It's Better Candidates. Citizens Alliance for Better Candidates. Yeah.
Okay, we will make sure to have all that in the notes, right? When we publish this,
Cool. All right.
you'll be able to get the link to it, and we will make sure that we spread the word.
You've been listening to Humanity 8.0 with your host, Dr. Ahmed Bouzid, founder and CEO of Witlingo.